It's my pleasure to introduce the speaker, Professor Ana Clara Mora. Professor Mora is currently full professor at Federal University of Minas Gerais, Department of Urban Planning, and coordinates the Geoprocessing Lab in the School of Architecture. She is an expert in urban planning and geoscience with emphasis on spatial analysis, GIS, cartographic visualization, urban environmental diagnosis, and the simulation of cultural landscape transformation. She was a pioneer in GIS use in Brazil and wrote the first book in Portuguese on GIS application in urban management and planning. She was awarded with the Cartographic Medal of Merit by the Brazilian Society of Cartographic in 2004, and was nominated as one of the 5% of the decade of 2010 in geoprocessing. The project related to her talk today has just been published. I put the link here, and it's an open access article, and I recommend you to take a look. It's a wonderful article. So the title of today's talk is Trees for Metropolitan Regions in Brazil, Scalability and Flexibility in the Use of the Brazilian Geodesign Platform. So Ana Clara, we have 35 minutes in this session. I will try to remind you the time if you can see me on the screen. So everyone, let's welcome Professor Clara Mora.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Yes, please control my time because we have a lot of things to talk about. So I'm going to talk about these case studies that we developed this year, starting in February and developed during this pandemic period. We invited 14 universities to develop the experiment with us, working in 13 metropolitan regions from north to south of Brazil in quite different biomes and landscapes, from Atlantic forest to central savanna and to Amazonic forest, from big cities as São Paulo to small cities as Macapá, from a city created just in the end of the 80s, Palmas, to cities from the beginning of Brazil as Salvador. As it is part of IGC meeting, we followed the plan proposed by the committee that was based on the creation of scenarios to 2035 and 2015 according to non-adopter, late adopter, and early adopter planner, and co-creating idea for 8 systems proposed, with the possibility to choose 2 others. We decided to add tourism and culture and to make carbon credit a system so that the participants were expected to propose areas specifically to carbon sequestration. Our goal was to prove scalability of the process because we worked in 13 regions, but there are 74, or the same process could be applied to other case studies. We wanted defensible and reproducible criteria in order to make comparisons. And mainly, we wanted to prove the flexibility of the method and of the tools, as we have a continental country and adaptability is very important for us. We started defining the minimum of variables we wanted to each of the 10 systems and to search for the data in official SDI, spatial data information. But all the data went to elaboration to be transformed into geospatial information. We produced to each metropolitan region a collection of 14 thematic maps, the same themes to all the projects. And we decided that our university, the Federal University of Minas Gerais, was going to produce all of them. There is someone with the open it. Okay, so we decided we are going to produce all of them to prove the scalability and to measure time. In the beginning, I took 1 month to prepare 3 projects, but at the end, I just needed 5 days to prepare a workshop because I optimized the process. If the SDIs here in Brazil were open to web map service access, I could prepare a workshop in just 1 day, but they are not here in Brazil. So I need 5 days because Brazilian SDIs allow just web feature service access. We have a Brazilian web-based platform called Gis Collab. We say Gis Collab. based on OGC standards, Open Geospatial Consortium, that is composed by 4 elements: a geographic database, a GeoServer in which we define the way we consume and we give access to data that can be web map service, web feature service, or a dynamic creation of data that we call web processing service. We have a metadata catalog, and we have a WebGIS platform that was optimized by us in scripts and programming. So the same collection of around 40 maps were available in this WebGIS to each project, but at any time, the participants could add their own data. In some case studies, we didn't explain how to add this data, and when we arrived there, the participants had already added a lot of data by their own, just adding as shapefile or as KML data. In the first day, we do what we call reading enrichment. The participants, they get information from the collection of maps, and they give information registering alerts, suggestions, pointing vulnerabilities and potentialities, adding new data in the systems, and so on. This is the example of reading enrichment of Rio de Janeiro metropolitan region, using the colors according to the systems to register information about alerts, suggestions, and so on. And then we go to days 2, 3, and 4 of the workshop. The participants co-create ideas, registering them using the colors and symbols according to the systems. They register also dialogues about their ideas, commenting their ideas. And we do the votings about the ideas. We also programmed a dynamic layer based on web processing service, in which the results are presented in widgets that are boxes. In this study, we prepared a widget to measure the areas proposed for carbon credit in square kilometers. Also to calculate the percentage of increasement, as we established a goal of a minimum of 30% of increasement, and to inform the number of trees that were going to be in the new areas according to the biome, and also to inform the proposed carbon sequestration above and below ground. And just this last week, we created a new widget that was not used during the workshop, but following all the workshops, we observed that it was important to create it, and in the next workshop, we're going to use it. That is to measure the sustainable development goals. While the participant is creating his idea, he can add an information about to which sustainable development goal he's contributing to, and this widget measure the performance during the workshop. So here we see that there are some goals that are not appearing because people didn't propose ideas about them, and others that they were very well considered during the workshop, like the 13 goal. In the next workshop, we're going to use it. Here we are measuring and counting. In the script that we created, I must show this again, this script. In this widget that we created to analyze the increasement of carbon credit sequestration, we created like this. We constructed from 2 global maps, the Crowthorne Nature Biome map and the global above ground and below ground biomass carbon density map. The first one from Crowthorne and colleagues, and the second one from Spall and colleagues. We take the global map and intercept with the area of robust vegetation in the metropolitan region. Then we count the number of trees to arrive to an index according to local biome, so that we have a table with trees per square kilometers and biomass of carbon above and below ground per square kilometers. Using these indexes, when a participant draws a polygon, the system calculates the area and presents the numbers. In some cases, as in Belo Horizonte metropolitan region, we have 2 biomes. We have the Atlantic forest and we have the savanna. So in that case, we have two indexes, and the calculation is constructed according to the biome where the polygon is designed. To give support to the drawing of the polygons, to the ideas about where to conserve, to add, or to replace vegetation areas, we presented to the participants a collection of maps composed by surface temperature, existing robust vegetation, and landscape ecology metrics that were area core, connectivity, and shape factor. This is the table that we created with all the data from all the metropolitan region. It's important to observe that we have different biomes. And because of geographic, social, and economic conditions, they are very different. They vary a lot. For example, in the south of Belo Horizonte, we have the same biome as São Paulo, that is Atlantic forest. So we have here Belo Horizonte, Atlantic forest, and also in São Paulo, we have Atlantic forest. But because of topography, the transition of the biomes and the climate, the number of trees that we have in Belo Horizonte is much lower than the number of trees that we can have in São Paulo. Observe this. In Belo Horizonte, the number of trees per square kilometers or per hectare, it's much lower than we can have in São Paulo. So I cannot expect that during the same polygon in São Paulo or in Belo Horizonte that I will arrive in the same quality of robust vegetation, the same number of trees, and the same quantity of carbon sequestration. So we must think about these differences. Because of that, and because of other reasons, I'm against indexes. I'm against rankings, because I cannot compare such different conditions. So during the workshop, these are the steps. In the first day, we do the read enrichment to 2020 situation. In the second day, we constructed the ideas of non-adopter scenario. And in the third day is the idea of late adopter scenario. And in the fourth and last day, the ideas of early adopter scenario. We can see that the first ideas are not the best, the non-adopter scenario. And we can also see that Brazilians are better in analysis in current situation than in proposing. IGC group also proposed us to analyze the scenarios according to Sustainable Development Goals. We observe that this classification is very, very, very subjective. Yesterday, when we were presenting the case studies of Belo Horizonte and Rio de Janeiro, I believe it was Brian or someone else that made a comment to Thiago from Rio de Janeiro that his numbers were very high, that he was very positive in analyzing his performance. And yes, it's true. So this is very subjective. When I compare the way each coordinator analyzes the results, it's very subjective. So what I can compare is that everybody increases the performance from non-adopter to early adopter from 2035 to 2050. This I can see. But it's still very subjective to say that you are contributing to a sustainable goal. Here I normalized the data, giving all of them the same start and the same end, just to see that all of them increased their performance. And this can be a result. But the numbers, in my opinion, cannot be a result themselves. All the groups used our platform, Gis Collab Platform, the same collection of around 30 maps. And we proposed the same steps to all the workshops. We registered videos with conceptual explanations and about how to use the tools. At least one of my students from the lab was a technical support during the meeting to each group. And when we compare the way each group worked in the same framework, they did it different. And this is very, very, very good. I was very happy with that. In Belo Horizonte case study, that was my group, my students worked based on agreements and votings. In the case study of São Paulo with Professor Paulo, as the majority of his group are architects, they worked as projective designing. I don't know if Paulo agrees, he's there, but I believe they worked as projective designing as architects. The group from Chico, from Florianopolis, as most of them are not from geo studies, they think as lawyers, sociologists, and so on, they decided to define ideas in tables. And after that, to choose the location for them. They had a great difficulty in using maps and doing the things based on geography. And they decided to work from tables. And they were better in analyzing and criticizing than to proposing, also this. The group from Rio de Janeiro, coordinated by Professor Thiago, as Thiago is a programmer, they were very, very technological. They used tools and medias during all the workshop. Thiago created an app that they could use in their mobiles to do the first step, that is the reading enrichment. And this app connects to our platform. So they worked in the beginning with volunteer geographic information. The group from Ceará, coordinated by Professor Newton, they divided the area according to landscape units and constructed ideas based on that. They were not numerous, they were working in a very small group, and they worked quite different because when they created the areas for carbon credit, they didn't propose polygons. They were based on parametric modeling and machine learning to propose variables and conditions to land use change. So the definition about areas to be improved with new trees, it was created by the machine learning and parametric modeling. So it was not the drawings of polygons. The group from Pará, coordinated by Professor Thiago and Alain, they are from geoprocessing course, and they were more interested in mapa and data. So they took 3 days in reading enrichment instead of just 1 day. They're more interested in that. The group from Goiás, coordinated by Professor Luis, as he teaches geography, he took the opportunity to teach geography to them, physical and human geography as a teaching process. The group from Recife, coordinated by Professor Patricia, that unfortunately was not able to present because she is ill, they tested the possibility of doing the workshop totally in a synchronous mode, because we're thinking about a very big city in which all the people could go there and give their opinion and make dialogues and make decisions. So we asked her to test the asynchronous mode. It worked very well in the first part, in the first day, but as time goes on, people started to lose the interest in the process. So we understood some steps that we must change, but it was an interesting experiment in a synchronous mode for the process. The group from Macapá, that's in the delta of Amazonic River, they were from state secretaries, from the transport secretary and from environmental secretaries. And they worked as technicians of the state secretaries. They worked as they were in their departments, following hierarchies and so on. It was very interesting because they're very afraid of proposing new ideas because someone had to approve, they had a hierarchy, they have the steps they had to follow. They worked as if they were doing their job. The group from Tocantins, coordinated by Professor Lucimara Edges and another professor, they took the experience to understand the territory, as Palmas was created in the end of the 80s, just 30 years ago. And in fact, there is no metropolitan composition there. There's no metropolitan area. The city is very new. The territory is very empty. So to understand the place was a very important step for them. So they discovered the place, they understood the place. This was the main interesting part of the process. The group from Campinas, coordinated by Professor Andrea, they decided to work based on the three objectives of the sustainable goals: environmental, economic, and social goals. So they divided their group according to this axis and the systems according to this axis and developed the workshop like this. The group from the extreme south of Santa Catarina, coordinated by Professor Nilsson, they had a lot of difficulty to take part in this experiment because they didn't understand the logic of innovations and change. They preferred to continue traditional. So I instructed them to propose another concept about change and innovation, but they were not feeling secure and they decided not to present their results in these meetings because they just don't understand the logic of innovation and change, and they prefer to continue traditional. They arrived to a result, but they're not happy with their results. In the group of Bahia, coordinated by Professor Susana and me, it was a composition, it was a collaboration between the Federal University of Minas Gerais, my university, and her university. As it was the last case study developed, it was an opportunity to process adjustments. So we had two different steps in the workshop. The first one was that I separated people in two groups: the groups that are not from the place, the group that's not with people that are not from the place, and the group with people from the place. And they worked completely different. The group from the place, they were more interested in presenting ideas to their daily life and to their project, to their problems, and to a closer time. They're not so interested in innovation. The group that was not from Salvador, they were very innovative. It's kind of not in my backyard process, but in positive way, because I observed that it's easier for me to propose innovation and different ideas and to be an early adopter when I'm not from the place. When I'm from the place, I prefer to solve my daily problems, my immediate problems. So it was quite possible to compare their performance and to understand this. And something more that we did there was the measure of the sustainable goal objective. I will go back in some slides, just 1 second. This. While they were proposing their ideas, I asked them to put in front of the name of the idea $1 and then the number of the sustainable goal that they were contributing to. Because in other case study, how it worked, the others. The coordinator, after the workshop, analyzed the proposals and filled these tables. There was just one workshop that coordinated by Professor Luis in Goiás, that instead of him filling the tables, he asked the students to fill the tables in Delphi method. Each student proposed a vote, and then they did the median. He presented the median to the students, and after that, they did another vote in Delphi method. But in majority of them, the coordinator presented his analysis about the sustainable goals. In Salvador case study, instead of that, I asked the participants to add in front of the proposal, the number of the sustainable goal that he was contributing to. So we had, now this last week, we created the widget, and in the next workshop, this widget will help to analyze which goals are being considered and the others that are not being considered. So with this experiment, we proved the scalability because from February to these last days, we were able to construct 13 case studies, but we have the goal, if we continue with this, we have 74 metropolitan regions in Brazil. They are not few. We were able to prove the defensible and reproducible criteria because it's based of comparison. I cannot compare São Paulo with Macapá. I cannot compare Salvador with Palmas. I cannot compare different biomes. I cannot compare different economic bases and social conditions, but I can compare performances. And what was most important, I can analyze adaptability to the process because flexibility is very important for us as we have a continental country. We prefer to analyze difference rather than similarities because we learn with them. I learned it with all the process. I learned it with all the colleagues. And this was very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. As I have some minutes, I would like to show you the platform. This is Gis Collab Platform, and here I open the case study of Salvador. Here we have the boxes that we call contests. We can create this contest according to the objective of the workshop. It's very flexible, so each coordinator can propose the way he's going to conduct the steps. I will open this, 2050 with innovations. Here you see the widgets that give support for us. I will draw an idea, just for you to see how easy it is. I'll go to the dialog box. I create a new contribution. I will say that I will work with a polygon and I will choose the color according to the system. For example, I will do energy, but also a forest with energy. So I'll put the name. If I want, I can put my name, my email, my contacts, because we planned that this platform can be used in official meetings in which people must represent institutions. So it's important to see who is there, which is his opinion and things like that. But I decided just to put a point and not to tell who I am. And then I'll go there, I'll draw a very big polygon, just draw. And I will save it. And here I can see that I increased my, I didn't let you see before that the numbers that I had here, but according to the area that I propose, that I draw, it has an increasement in proportion, the number of trees that can be there, the areas, and the carbon credits above and below ground. And I must do something more. Yes, here, I forgot to save. So now I have increased the area of contribution. I will propose something more. I will propose another area that will be a forest to give works to women. So it will contribute to gender. So I'll put $1 in front of my proposal and I will write 5 because it's the sustainable goal. I will choose the color that I want and I will draw it here. Okay, I will save it. Save it. And then when I go to my widget, I can see, I'm not seeing because this zoom, that my sustainable goal number 5, I must save. My sustainable goal number 5 arrived there. Not yet. Yes. And I can control to each sustainable goal people are contributing. Okay. And also the area of improvement of carbon credit, it's enlarged. So just for you to know the platform, I will stop sharing this and go back to my PowerPoint. Okay. And now do you have my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Good to see your PowerPoint.
So I'm in the last slide, in which I must thank all the colleagues that accepted to be part of this experiment, because it was very rapid and it was this year. And I must thank all the students that were my support, because in each workshop I had at a minimum one student that helped as technical support and also as conceptual support to the colleagues. And they were very, very important for us. And it's true, Shao, that it's already published in sustainability, so people can read about it. And I'm very happy that I was able to write and to publish this semester. Even with a lot of things to control, I was able to write and to publish so that you can read about the experiment. And I must thank all of you from IGC group, but especially to Brian, that was very patient with the Brazilian group, because we know we are complex, we are numbers, we are numerals, and we know that we are not easy because each one of us thinks his own way, has his own way of doing the things. So I must thank you for your patience with us. Okay, so if you want, we can go back to the platform to know a little bit more about it. What I can say is that it's very flexible. To each case study, we create specific scripts, specific widgets, specific graphics and dashboards. So it's very open, because I really don't believe in one framework. I believe in proposing a road, and each one constructs his changes. And I believe in flexibility. I really do. Mainly because I am from a complex country and it's important for us. I don't know if Christian Freitas is there. Are you, Christian? Are you there listening to us? Because Christian is the... Are you, Christian?
Yes, Anna.
Sorry?
I'm here.
Okay, so if you can open your camera just to let people know you, that he is the programmer of the platform. The platform was a product from his PhD thesis, and we are testing it in very different case studies. The most difficult one was in Islam, a favela, during the pandemic period, conducting the meetings in virtual meetings. That was not easy for them, as they have very difficult social conditions there. But we are testing it in many case studies, and it is proving to be quite flexible and quite open to adapt to different conditions. So I'm open to your questions.
Hey, thanks, Anna Carl. It's a really, really interesting project. And I think we have 6 or 7 questions in the chat box now. And I think since the time limit, but I think we have 3 to 5 minutes for this session. So I will just quick go through the questions. So I have the question about this is a very powerful implementation of the IGC framework and a valuable development for method. Are the models and algorithms available in published form? And the second question is, what do you think the reasons are for people being more comfortable proposing local knowledge to the current situation than proposing ideas for the future? How can they inspired to think bigger? And the third question is, you said you were happy about the people in different ways. What do you think is the added value in this about the interesting that all the group apply in the instruction, but in different ways? And the fourth question is, what mechanisms can be explored to build the trust of those more traditional groups to get to a place where they can contribute while still operating within their comfortable zone. And the sixth question is, the work is incredible achievement technically, but especially as a social experience in collaborating across disciplines and skill levels and accommodating so many ideas about processing and method. There are so many lessons to learn from this. What will be your next step? And I think the final question is,
I believe I will forget everything, but let's go.
okay.
Let's begin. Well,
Okay.
the next steps, I start from this.
Okay.
All the coordinators received their platforms with data and with the administration password. So they own the platform now. So they can repeat the use of it whenever they want, and they can do changes. For example, our SDI in Brazil is not good. It's not good. In the first day, all of them were not happy with the data because mainly land use and land cover was terrible. So a lot of them wanted to change the data, wanted to improve the data, wanted to qualify the data. So I believe in the next step, as now they own the platform, they own the data, and they have totally the control of the process. They will change the data that they didn't like. They can change the steps. They can change the goals. They can change everything. So I believe, and I really hope that they repeat the experience in their lessons, in their classes with their students and with different groups, because it was just a first experiment.
Okay.
Me and Christian's there, we want to continue to construct tools to support decision-making and opinion-making, mainly opinion-making, because we believe sometimes geodesign is not for decision-making, but for opinion-making. The quality of the results is not said that's very good, but the changes in transformative learning, in teaching how to do participatory planning, how to contribute, how to be a citizen, this is a result. So I believe geodesign is more for opinion making than to decision making, but we can arrive to a condition that we can support decision making.
Okay. Cool. And I think the question about
GIS Collab, it's not a complex platform. It's based on OGC and it's open. So I just have to have good students, and we do. So I just have to have talent students to work with us, and it's open source. Everything is open source, and it has a dialogue with other tools and platforms, and it's based on OGC standards. Help me with the...
Yeah, and I think there is a question about how to make the traditional, like the group, how can they feel comfortable?
Yes, to tell you the truth, they arrived to a result. Brian saw that they sent the PowerPoint, but they were not comfortable with the result, and they decided not to present it. I talked to them that being traditional is not a problem. And innovation is not just to construct the drones interface and the very different things and the metro. So innovation can be doing the same thing, but in a different way of thinking. But they are in the very south of Brazil, and people from the frontiers tend to be more traditional. And the majority of them are sons of immigrants. So it's very important for them to keep their culture, to keep their way of living. They just don't want to change, but they can do the same thing, thinking different. I tried, but it's not in one meeting that we arrived to a result, but we started. As I said, it's a transformative learning. It's time.
Right. And
And
I see Brian raised his hand. So Brian, do you want to say something first?
Not so much a question as a comment. This is fantastic work, and I know from corresponding with Anna Clara, you know, the social aspects of this, of getting, you know, 14 universities to collaborate is incredible. And I hope that everybody that's listening to this presentation will take this as a kind of lesson. You know, why can we not do the same thing in the United States or in Germany or Japan or any of the other places with multiple schools? Because it, you know, it's that experience that is so important, is learning from each other.
yes, Carl asked to talk, but just one moment, Carl, just to explain this. I said to them, I will do the data, I will feed the platform, I will record the lessons, I will ask one of my students to be with you. Okay? And I will be in the background. I will not take part in all the meetings because I don't have this time, but at least one of my students will be with you. So if I didn't give them this condition, they won't have time because they have their own tasks, they have their own compromise. So to give support, I believe that in your countries can be easier as you have a good SDI, spatial data information, because we don't have. If you have an SDI that allows web map service, I just connect my platform with your platform, just that. So in one day, we are ready for the workshop. In my city, that's the city of Belo Horizonte, we have a very good local SDI from the municipality. And we did the case study of favela, just connecting our platform to local platform. In one day, we're ready to work. So I believe you that live in countries that have a better conditions of data, it will be much easier than in my country that's very complex. So Carl asked to speak, Carl.
How can I hear you?
Your microphone.
I agree with Brian. It's a very impressive collaboration. I'd like to make a distinction between flexibility and adaptability. Flexibility at the extreme tells everybody, do it any way you like, make your colors, make your maps, make your models, make your methods any way you like. At the extreme, it's an anarchy that represents the kind of situation that occurs at the Geodesign Summit, where everybody has their own legends or don't even present them in their own ways. You have no idea how it came about. Adaptability means it could be used in different contexts, in different social circumstances, in different geographies. The key that limits flexibility, that limits individual choices all the way, is the need to have a common language of expression of the results. If I can't read your map automatically, if I can't put your map next to mine and have it merge without seeing borders, then we have a very low level of comparability. If we have a high level of adaptability, it means you could use it in any geography, any context, anything. And what you have is different solutions, solutions which are unique to the place and the social and political context. And I think we should have very high adaptability, but I do not think we should have very high flexibility. If we had 15 different ways to measure and display SDGs or high impact of trees, it wouldn't work. If we had many definitions of any of the evaluations, it wouldn't work to be comparable. And I think that's a very important distinction. And I think what you've got is high adaptability. That's very clear. But I think you may have too much flexibility, because in the projects from Brazil that I've seen different color codes, different ways of making the expressions of the final maps. And that's a limit, and it has to be studied very carefully. And the language, the common language, is what lets us work across countries and across continents. And if everybody makes their own ways of expressing what they're doing, then we're in no way able to be learning very much from each other. It's a limit of the process of flexibility.
Sorry, Carl, I need to cut the time because we already used all the 10 minutes break.
I'm sorry, but I will.
But thank you for your suggestions. In our group, we follow the color code.
I know.
And I'm available to talk to any of you at any time. We Brazilians, we like to talk and we like to work together and we like people. So we are available for continue talking whenever you want. I just read here that Michele asked about the maintenance and development of the platform. For the creation of it, we had official support from CNPq, that's our agency here. And to continue, I don't know, I just need good students. And Christian is in my heart and he will continue working with me. And let's see what time will bring to us.
But it's really a great project. Thanks a lot for Ana Clara. Thanks, and for your team. Thanks a lot.